Hey there, I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Jackie.
And welcome to Slightly Unsupervised. We're best friends, business partners, and the chaos behind Bestimony, a ceremony we created to celebrate the kind of soulmates who don't come with a marriage license.
This podcast is all about that friendship energy, the deep stuff, the messy stuff, and this laugh till you snort stuff.
So whether you're driving, folding laundry, or hiding in your car for some peace and quiet,
you're in good company. Let's get slightly unsupervised. Okay, today we're talking about raising good friends. What we didn't learn, but our daughters need. Okay, this one feels a little personal because I don't think most of us were ever actually taught how to be good friends. We were told to be nice, to share, to include people, but no one really taught us how to handle jealousy or what to do when a friend hurts you or how to speak up instead of staying quiet just to keep the peace. And now here we are, grown women, still figuring it out in real time. Still learning how to set boundaries, still learning how to communicate, still unlearning the idea that being a good friend means over-giving, over-explaining, or staying too long in things that don't feel right. And then we look at our daughters and we realize they're walking into the exact same thing, the same dynamics, the same pressures, the same confusion around what friendship is supposed to feel like. But here's the difference. We get to change that. We get to teach them something we had to learn the hard way. So today we're talking about how to raise girls who aren't just nice, but are confident, honest, emotionally safe, and actually good friends without losing themselves in the process.
Yeah, so this is a really good subject matter, in particular, probably for Jackie and I to go over, because obviously our podcast about being best friends, and her and I have been best friends for a long time. We were best friends a long time ago, and then we had a break, and now we're back. But that's the good thing about it is that we have a lot of lessons to teach people because we have not only survived friendship and been really close, but lost friendship and not being close and then returning to a friendship. So we have um, little more to say about this than most, probably because we have had it, lost it, and returned to it. And so we have a lot of really good experience in this subject matter and why it's important. And in particularly, and I know you probably agree with me on this, Jack, as we get older, that it is so apparent that we need to have our friends, that the friendship aspect, particularly for women, is a very important. It's very important, but even more so important as we age because we're going to get to these ages, where we're getting into the later 50s now, where we can see that, we're going to need a strong group of women around us as we go into this next chapter, which is more like the final chapter, I guess. I mean, we really want to talk about it, but that, how we teach our girls to start being friends from a young age and to really probably overemphasize the idea that they really need to be good friends and they need to keep good friends and they need to have good friends. And we can make some changes in that. I know if Jack, maybe you want to give a little background on the learning to be a friend from your mother, that aspect. Do you think that there was any great lessons there for you in that your mother had taught you about being a good friend?
No, I don't think we really ever discussed it. My mom really didn't have any good friends that I remember. She had friends that, that were family. Like
Right.
I know the only really good friend I remember my mom. Well, I guess they did have friends that they had in high school, but they weren't around them very much. And
As you were growing up.
no, like not where they taught, like I saw her talk to them a lot. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
But my aunt, they're still close to my aunt, actually followed my aunt and uncle as my dad's twin brother. And
Oh,
my
yeah.
mom was friends with the woman, my aunt Connie, who my uncle married.
Right.
And so they're still good friends. And they actually followed my parents out to Missouri. So
Right.
she's still alive. My uncle's passed. They're still good friends and do a lot together, but that's about it. Like I didn't see my mom. Like we moved to the mountains and my mom didn't make one friend up there that I remember that she stayed friends with. I mean, we had a neighbor she was friends with, but I don't remember keeping in touch with her. But that's because it
Right.
was a neighbor. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Not where, as like me, I moved places and I stayed with friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I still talk
Yeah,
to
like
people from the
yeah.
desert. Rick met, when I got my boyfriend, he met those women that I made friends with in the desert and then moved to the mountains. And you know
Right.
what I mean? He's met
Right.
everybody.
And I think that's so mine was a little different, right? So my mom was married. I don't know. My mom was married to my dad and got divorced when they were like 2 or 3. So that's really not a big hiccup in my life because I don't remember it. But then she got married again and then we moved to the mountains and then they got divorced when they were up there. So and of course I had friends in Orange County where I grew up before I moved up to those mountains. So I have my friends from Orange County too. But, my mom was a single mom at that point and even maybe as a little bit as a child watching her, there was a lot of girlfriends around because when you're single, you have a lot of girlfriends around because it's your support system. Eventually, if you've gotten divorced or something, there's usually a swarm of women that come around to uphold you or protect you or wrap their arms around you to kind of keep you afloat. So mine's a little different in that I saw that the importance of friendships for women a little more with my mom just because of that. But
Mhm.
then she would get married and I mean, there were friends around, I guess. I don't know how much I learned from my mom, except that I needed them, right? That it was an
Mhm.
important aspect of my life. So I think that taught me that. And my mom still has her friends from high school, like that we talk about. I know who they are, like they've been around. So there's that. But, if anything I learned as a child is that keeping a close knit group of women around you is important only from the aspect that that's who is on hand when there's a relationship fracture. So, meaning of the opposite sex, the fracture of that. But then I had my stepmom
Mhm.
that was with my dad, that was that my dad for a long time, and she was very devoted to my dad. So
Mm.
not that she didn't have friends, she was very active in her neighborhood, and she had little packets of friends, but not like friendship, like go hang out. They'd come over and
Yeah.
they'd laugh and drink wine and have that sort of, camaraderie together, like and I think my mom had that more so that's probably where I got that from, but it didn't
Mhm.
mean that she taught us how to deal with the friendship problems. I think, that's something that we see more, or at least you probably do with your daughters, is like the jealousy, the backstabbing. We're in a different era now too, where social media is just all over the place. And, watching that kind of come up in the ranks, we didn't have that as children either. So, but, to sort of navigate things, I'm sure there's times, Jack, when, and at least I know when I had with my stepdaughter too, when there were some things that going on in her world, trying to kind of gently guide her into a place of, there's the mainstream reaction that all the girls have, and then kind of going, well, kind of look at it this way. Look at some of the situation from another perspective. And because sometimes you think those infractions that happen with these kids, at least I have when I've watched it happen, is like, okay, that's not a big deal, right? In a
Mhm.
long scheme of things, the fact that, she said that to that guy and it got back to, like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Like, it's just I'd have a chat with somebody about it, but it certainly wouldn't end friendship. I feel like the friendship ending is very,
Yeah, we definitely wouldn't get caught up in it. Me and my husband, we wouldn't get caught up in any of
no,
the little fights and we'd be
no,
like, okay, like they'd be like, well, you can't talk to their parents, because they were in sports or something. And, we'd be friends with the parents. So we'd sit with the parents at the games. And I remember the one game and you can't talk to them. I'm not talking to their daughter. We're not talking more. We're not friends. No, we're not doing that
right,
because next week you guys will be friends or you're going to
right.
make up in a month and we don't play those games.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. And, I
Right.
mean, it took longer to be friends again, but they became friends again. But no, we're not doing that. That's not right. You guys, it's gonna all work out. It's gonna be fine, but we're not
Right.
no. We're
Right.
adults. You're gonna
Right.
find that that's not right.
Right. And I think too, like girls, especially when they have those sort of things, if they don't have like a support system, they're going to go to their mother and their mother's going to give them the first reaction of, how you should behave in this instance, like jealousy or, somebody said something you didn't like or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
I was reminded yesterday about something that I hadn't seen in a long time, but we had this like HOA thing and there was a lady there and I know her, she lives around here or whatever. She was talking to this guy that was on the board at the HOA and she was telling him something and then somebody else came up and asked a question and he said, "She's already writing me about that situation." Like she had kind of told him, "We need to do this, we need to do this." And man, she got mad and she left. She's like, "I didn't do any of that." And, da, da, da. And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. We are overreacting here for nothing that is going on." You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
but it was like, it's a good reminder. It's like people have triggers, right? What does that trigger from? Like somebody at some point has told you that you did something you didn't do. And man, is that a trigger in your life? Like you just went off the deep end over nothing. Nothing happened
Mhm.
there. And I felt bad because I'm in the middle of it. I'm the only other person there. And I'm like, oh, no, she didn't. No, she wasn't that being that crazy about it. Like, and she's like, I did. Like, she made a big stink about it. And I was just like thinking, I'm an adult now. I don't want to deal with this stuff. But
I had to learn to deal with it all myself because I never could go to my mom about any of
no,
my friendship situations at all.
yeah,
She would've just told me, "Get over it,"
yeah.
and not in a good way. It would have never been anything like, not an like, "You're gonna work it out," or anything like that either. It'd just be like, either no answer or just like a mean kind of
Yeah.
just deal with it,
Deal with it
that type of
yourself.
situation, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
Yeah, I
never
don't ever
anything.
remember I remember us talking as girls to each other about things, but not
Mhm.
necessarily with my mom about things, but my mom would
Mm-mm.
probably push me to return back to the friendship, be like, "You can work it out," because my mom obviously knew that these friendships last long term and you need them or whatever, so but I really don't feel like there was ever any lessons in that, and returning back to something with a conflict. I guess what we learned as children is that maybe because our parents were sort of hands-off parents in that generation that,
Mhm.
somebody solved it and then we sort of use that as our solving base, right?
Yeah.
So
I
I
would say they got involved if there was a situation because I do have a friend that she was stealing money from the business she was working for.
oh,
And they found it out before I did, and I forget how they found out, and I didn't even know. And so they questioned me if I knew, and I said, "I didn't. I swear she never told me that she was doing that. I wondered where she got her money, but she always told me she got it from her mom and dad. And then she
oh.
worked for this company, so I thought she just and she got paid, so that's where I thought she got her money
Right,
from.
right, right,
And I honestly, I swear on my life, that's what I thought was how she got her money.
right,
And, no, they found out that she was taking money from the business, so that's when they got involved because then they're like, "Okay, we don't want you to hang out with her anymore." So they
right.
did get involved when it came to where, "Hey, this is not cool. She was doing this, like, the cops are coming, like,
Yeah, yeah.
to
That makes
get her."
sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't wanna
So,
be
I must say that
attached
in
to
my
that.
safety-wise, they did come in and got in there, and still I don't even know how they found that out before me. I have no clue.
I
I don't know if it's
gotcha.
something like my brothers knew somebody or what, but I was like, "How would you even find this out? She's my friend. I didn't even know this was happening."
Did you ever feel like when we were girlfriends in high school and, like, close friendships, like, your parents were, like, annoyed by our friendship? Did you ever feel that way, Jack? Because like, I can imagine they were probably like, "You 2 together are too much." Like, you girls get it
Probably.
we got in trouble too, like, it wasn't like we didn't get into some trouble, but, like, you sure you wanna be hanging out with that one, like, all the time? Like,
No,
I don't
I was
know.
never told that.
No? They probably
No.
were thinking that in their heads.
As long as we stayed out of trouble, like, and when we were in big trouble, I think they were fine.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
the most trouble we got in together when was the time you ran away probably and your parents were over at my house, like, yelling and
Yeah.
screaming. I'm like, "I don't know where she is," but, like, other than that, we kinda did keep out of at least kept our problems behind the scenes, although your
Mm,
brothers might have known, so but anyways, the point is that you have an opportunity or the generation now has an opportunity to teach and, give some these children, these girls now growing up in this system because I feel like they're very trigger happy. They're willing to block and get rid of, and I'm not talking to you, and you're not good for my mental health. All these words that we never had as children are now
mhm.
very easily influenced. Like, it's very easy to dismiss somebody. You're not good for my mental health, which could come from a lot of reasons. And maybe there are friends that are no good for your mental health, but they also later on term and overall friendship can be very good for your mental health. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be careful
Mhm.
with that because you can't just dismiss everybody. And there is a lot of jealousy with girls now. I feel like
Mhm.
more so than anything and I
Yeah,
don't
and
know
I
where
see
that
that.
came from. It's like, why are y'all so jealous? Like,
Oh, it drives me nuts to see
it's
that.
not a competition. Like, find your friends. That group, it's you against the world, not just you against everybody. Like, that's got to be a battle that is just hard to win when you're this age group. So,
Mhm.
if I had to give some good, sort of advice, I'd be like, "Look, you've gotta pick some friends that you're gonna put up with some of their nonsense, like, they're never gonna be perfect, no one's ever perfect, but do they have your back? If somebody has your back or is always there, like, you need to put up with some stuff, you're not perfect either, meaning
Nope.
we only hear one side of the story. I bet you're a pain in the ass on that side too, like, so
Like the 5 of us, we're not none of us are perfect. I'm definitely not.
I'm definitely not either, so but we also know each other's, little quirks now, so it's not
And our
like
strengths and our
yeah,
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 what we're good in a friendship and exactly.
right, and when one needs support, there's a couple of us that are good at that part of it, or there's somebody else something else where,
Mhm.
there's a few more that are good at that, so
Yeah.
but I think if we had anything from a group of 5 of us, which is an odd number, which basically is they'll always say odd numbers generally won't work because you gotta pair off with people, right? We have one man out. We don't really have that problem.
Like I was just saying, you 2 and you 2, and I'll go sleep on the couch.
We're going
I
away
have
for
no problem with that.
I know, and I'm like, "Are you sure? I could sleep up there because I snore. I probably don't drive poor Michelle nuts." But, it's about balance, and it's about finding some friendships and how women a as mothers, you should, I hope, interact with your children a little bit, especially your daughters, about keeping these friendships, alive and well, reminding them that a lot of life happens between the time that you're a teenager until your older age, and all of that can make a big, huge difference about who stays in your life or who doesn't stay in your life, and if you have a really good friendship, a good core base of females in your life that can help you, that they're gonna be very important, and let's not toss everybody off the boat that, all of a sudden says something you don't like, get over it, you know what I mean? Like this lady yesterday, get over it. Nothing bad happened here. You just made a
Mhm,
mountain out of a molehill and, stormed off. She went off, but it's like, for what? What did you accomplish? You got nothing accomplished. You just basically had a tizzy fit and left. And instead of being effective, you've been ineffective, and now you're hiding in your house because you're mad at everybody. But it's important for us as women to teach our girls that these things are important and to set some boundaries too. Make sure you teach your girls boundaries. Like you don't have to be a doormat.
mhm,
I don't know if we would be friends with people that were just doormats. I mean, I think if you were going to talk about the five of us, you could step on a stone that was a little too far into our boundary lines. We're going to probably hold a boundary line pretty quickly with you, and we know it. I mean, you know what I mean? We step on a stone, we're like, "Oh, that's not a good spot to go." I know I just talked to you about this with the birthday present you got. Girls behind them, they were like, "Oh, we'll get this, we'll get that." I'm like, "Oh, no, we don't want to do that." You know what I mean? Like, there's a boundary line
mhm,
there, and they're like, "How do you know?" I go, "Because I've already stepped on the stone. We're not going there. So let's backtrack on that. We don't want to do that. That's not a good idea. So, I'm telling you, let's skip that part of it." And I was right, right? So
mhm,
boundaries. Boundaries are good. Boundaries are like what you put up with, what you're not going to put up with, what's good for you, what's not good for you, how we step over the line sometimes and, do that kind of stuff. So I'm sure you've done it on your side, Jackie, when I'm not listening and somebody says something and you're like, oh no, I don't think that's a good idea. You know what I mean? Like
mhm.
it's not a bad thing. It's just somebody.
Right.
Like Michelle. Let's talk about Michelle for a minute. Couple birthdays ago or something, you're like, "I'll get her." I don't know what you were gonna get her. I'm like, "You know what? Michelle drinks beer. Just get her a 12 pack. No, get her a
Flowers. You were saying she doesn't
oh,
like
yeah, some
flowers.
flowers." I'm like,
Yep.
"No, no, no, no. She's not a flower girl. I wouldn't give her flowers. Just buy her a case of beer and she's gonna be a happy camper." And she was.
And lime, we got limes, beer.
Exactly. So, we all have input. We all know each other intimately on some levels. And so, we go to Chrissy and Jen a lot for Chrissy and Jen stuff too, because they know each other. They were roommates forever and close friends. So boundary lines are good. But if you could do anything is teach them how to have some conflict resolution, please. Like please teach your girls that just because somebody hurts your feeling, you don't need to end a friendship. Like work through it because you're going to need those skills later. You're going to need them at work. You're going to need them at school. You're going to need them in life. You're going to need them with your husband. You're going to need to learn conflict resolution. You have to. If you cannot just throw a fit and get your way, no one's going to be your friend. So please, parents, mothers, teach our daughters these things so that later on they can handle that kind of stuff that comes up. And as the girls are going through, kindergarten problems are pretty minor. First grade problems are pretty minor. They get into junior high and high school, it gets way more complicated. So if you're doing a lot of lesson learning in those few beginning years as these little friendship things come up, you can help them navigate these things much better because as they get older, they have some sort of basis to go back on. So I would pay attention to even the little kindergartners with their issues and the first graders and the second graders, that these are really just the little bits that come before the bigger problems come, and the more you can help them navigate those at a younger age, the more they'll have. And I know we didn't get that very much, and thankfully we learned to be good friends probably from having good friends. We just by the grace of God, Jack, we learned how to be good friends because I'm not
Mhm.
sure who else we had to help us with that. So anyways, you want to go into the bestie rapid fire questions? You want to go first?
Or what's something you wish someone taught you about friendship growing up?
I think that
It's important to have.
important to have, yeah, or that they're gonna be more important later.
Mhm.
Like, hold on to that, like, don't just let in particular, like you and I, we didn't have a friendship for, like, 15 years, like, can you resolve that? Can you get to a better place? You have to let 15 years go by. I wish somebody would have stepped in a little bit for us on that and been like, why are you 2 not talking to each other a little bit more so
Mhm.
that we could have skipped to not having some time together?" So,
Never let a guy come between it.
you never let it, "Oh, please, girls, do that at least. Your best friend doesn't like your boyfriend. Don't just discredit it as jealousy. Sometimes she's looking out for you." So, okay, ready, Jack? Did you ever stay in a friendship because you felt like you had to?
Yep, out of
Yeah,
obligation
yeah. Time.
because I feel like they were there for me when I needed them, but I wasn't really seeing that they then were bad for me after so much time.
Right,
But then I
right,
eventually figured it out, which
right,
was good for me to let that go. Bye-bye.
right. Yeah, that's true. Jackie had a really good friend that was really kind of mean to her in a lot of ways, and Jackie just couldn't see it. Maybe because
Like I
it
said, because she
was
was there at a time
yeah,
that I needed her when I was divorcing,
right,
and I had hard times with that person when I was divorcing, and when I even before that, she was there whenever I was having problems with him, but it was more she was trying not to focus on her own problems, which,
right,
when I look back as I matured, because I was
right,
young.
right,
I
right,
wasn't
right,
seeing it. I was just like, "Oh, well, she's always there. Perfect," because everybody else
right.
was busy. I understood, but she was always wanting to be there when there was a conflict or a problem.
And yet
And,
somebody had told you, like, not
yeah.
me, we weren't friends, but somebody
Oh,
in a
multiple
close
people.
friend yeah, said, "That's not a very good friend to you." Like, they tell you. I
Mhm.
think people try to tell you things sometimes and you
Oh,
don't
yeah, and I had people that I had just became friends with that would tell me,
yeah,
like, all of a sudden, "She talks behind your back," and, like, they shouldn't have even had to tell me that, to
right,
where I started looking into it, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, this there is something wrong here.
right, right,
This is a one-sided friendship, like,
right,
she is talking behind my back, she is saying stuff, but then to my face, trying to act like she's there, being, 'Oh, I'm so sorry that I'm helping you,' and no, she was not. She was actually
not
making
yeah,
it worse for me."
right.
So,
And
yeah.
people did tell you. I mean, that's the only point I wanna point out is that it wasn't these people there was people that were watching it that were like and it wasn't me, guys, I wasn't involved, I wasn't there,
Mm-mm.
but I
No.
was later,
Yeah.
maybe and I said something, I think. But
Mhm.
in the beginning when it was going on, when I wasn't around, there was people telling you. And so, as a parent, as a mother, as a person listening to this, is that if people are telling you things and you're like, "No," I mean, if they tell you 1 or 2 things and you're like, "No," and, maybe you know how somebody is and you're like, "That's not what they mean. They're just, you know,
It's just them.
it's just them. They just say shit like that." But, if you get enough inquiries about it, I'd start maybe paying a little more attention to it because you could
And
find
that's what I
out that,
did.
yeah, people are trying to help you or trying to protect you too. So
And I'm
that's
telling you, it
good.
just felt like a relief off my shoulders because I did notice afterwards too.
Yeah.
She was bringing me down.
Right.
She was
Yeah.
making it worse.
She was keeping you sick, is what I saw, like
Yep.
trying to. So, anyways,
So,
okay, you go, Jack.
yeah. Okay. What's one friendship lesson you are intentionally teaching your kids?
Mine is grace. I always taught my boys to have grace. Like, don't, and I had boys. I didn't have girls. I had a stepdaughter. I'm not discussing that with her. Her mother would teach her those sort of things. But from my kid's perspective, it's like, yeah, they screwed up. So what? Like, be a good friend. Get back in there. I would encourage my children always to be less reactive and to I was always good at pointing out my own children's issues, like, and you have never done that to somebody and you've never had that misinterpreted. Like, if you want grace, you have to give grace. And, I was always big with that with my children about something happens in a friendship. Well, have you ever screwed up? And did they ever forgive you? Because if they did, then you deserve to be forgiven and they deserve to be forgiven in another shot. I'm not saying to take abuse, but I am saying give grace. Like, you screw up too, they screw up, it's not a perfect equation all the time. So that's the one thing I think I intentionally taught my children. What about you, Jack?
Mine is always root for each other.
Yeah.
Always see the positive and root for each other and
Yeah.
hope, always tell them you're doing good, you're doing great,
Yeah.
to make it positive.
Yeah. You're good
I
at
think
that.
that's always
I
good.
was like, my children, you're screwed up too. Don't be bad. Oh my God, your boys are so good.
Well, because people love to hear it, like, when they become parents, they wanna hear you're doing a great job.
Sure.
You're because they're these kids now are always second guessing themselves, you know what I mean? Like, "Oh, you're doing great at your job," you know what I mean? But if they hear it from their friends or their peers, it makes them feel better because they
It
feel like
does.
they're always being judged by each other
Right. That's
so
true.
much these days. So, but when they
Right.
hear it from each other, they're just like, "Thank you." But we
But do
could say it
you
and they're just
think
like, "Oh, you're gonna say it because 'cause you're my parent."
right. But do you think, Jackie, because one of the ways you grew up is that maybe you gave that to your children more so too because you didn't get it as much? right?
Oh, probably. I'm
Yeah,
positive. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't think I got that very much at all.
yeah. I
It's
think that
just like it was so funny, my son. Oh my gosh, so we went to go see my grandmother, had her 100th birthday this weekend.
that's amazing.
Her birthday is this month, but we're all taking turns because she doesn't wanna party. So, my husband and I with our one of our daughters and our other son that was available, we went this weekend to go see her, and we were driving in the car, and my son just made this remark, and he said what was it exactly? He said, "It was okay." And he's like, "Mom, who does that sound like?" And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, you know what that who said that?" And I said, "I know, I know, no idea." And he goes, "Don't you remember when we went on when I graduated from high school, we went on that camping trip, and you made a really good dinner, and you asked Nanny, oh, how did you like the dinner? It wasn't it good?" And then he goes, "It was okay."
He remembered
And I'm
that?
like, he remembered that.
How funny.
And I was like, you know what? When Nanny says stuff like that, I kind of let it go over my head. And he's like, because
Right,
mom, it was such a good dinner. And I couldn't believe that's all she said was, it was okay.
right.
And I was just like, well, that was what I grew up with.
Right.
Like
Never a good, just a
all I wanted her
okay.
to say, that was a great dinner. No, no, it was okay.
It was fine. It'll,
Yeah.
as my husband says, it'll make a turd. That's his way of telling me that my cooking was, I
But
mean,
everybody else and he goes, and Papa was sitting there saying, "This is the most delicious dinner ever," and everyone was, like, saying it was great, and my mom was like, "It was okay." But for my son to realize and still think about that, so when he says that now, to
Yeah,
him,
yeah.
it's like, it's rude, you know
It's
what I
rude.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I'm like, "Oh."
Good for him. He's protecting you. He's like, "Can you imagine?" All right, Jack,
Mhm.
what do you think girls are taught to compete more than connect?
It just matters how they're raised.
Yeah,
But I think they are more these
they are.
days for
They
some
are.
reason,
Yeah.
or even if yeah, but I think it's kinda how they're raised, but I think they are.
I think social media has turned it into a big
Mhm.
competition.
Social
So,
media's definitely done that.
yeah, some detriments done by the social media aspect of our lives that
Mhm.
is
Well,
tough
but
because
if
we didn't have that. We just had the normal chit chatter, the gossiping or whatever that happens at schools. And, you just get around
Mhm.
because it's your day to take the shit, and the next day somebody else takes the shit. So you gotta learn that as you're growing through life. Today's
Mm.
my day. Everybody's mad at me today, so I'll just go home,
Mhm.
and tomorrow's somebody else's day. So
Yep,
I think it's much more competitive than it used to be, and this is maybe why
because
girls
of
are
social
yep.
media,
Yeah, social
definitely.
media is wrecking it. Okay, go ahead, Jack.
Okay. What would have changed for you if you had learned boundaries earlier? Probably my sanity.
Yeah. I don't know if I had bad boundaries with friendship, but I had probably bad boundaries with boys, and so that's probably you probably are in that aspect too, more so. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it'll get you. Boundaries are important. You gotta say what I'll put up with and what I won't put up with. But I had really good friends. I'm always gonna be grateful for that. Just for whatever reasons, God grace sent me good friends. So I always had really good friends that were pretty supportive. And boys, on the other hand, maybe not so much. So, maybe I took more abuse than I needed to in those, but you learn,
Right.
you know. They
Yeah.
wouldn't stomp on me twice now. That's for sure.
Right?
Okay, at the end of the day, we can't rewrite the friendships that we had growing up, but we can change what our daughters believe friendship is supposed to feel like. Confusing, not one sided, not something they have to earn, but something that feels safe, honest, and mutual. Because if we teach them that early, they won't spend years unlearning what we had to. Amen to that. If this episode hit you in the feels or made you laugh way too hard, we consider that a win.
Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your ride or die
And when you're ready to make your friendship official, book your bestimony at rhinestoneweddingchapel.com.
because the best love stories don't always come with a ring.
We stick together, ride or die to the moon, and no amount of space could ever come between us two. The reuniting's like we never been apart, and every single time we're eye to eye and heart to heart. There's not enough words to describe what you mean to me. Through heartaches and ups and downs in this life, you've stayed right next to me. I vow to make you laugh till definition of a best friend is you. Is you. And we'll keep dancing through the rain, forever connected. Same page, we're writing our story every day. We'll keep on growing, ever changing. There's not enough words to describe what you mean to me. Through heartaches and ups and downs in this life, you've stayed right next to me. I vow to make you laugh till you cry and talk about everything under the moon. The definition of a best friend is you. Is you. Is you. Love, trust, that's us. Loyalty, you and me. Love, trust.